Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. It's been a crazy first week in the NBA. All kinds of stuff happening both on the court as well as, unfortunately, in the doctor's office. So much going on the injury front right now. We're going to get into all of it. I'm Trevor Lane, joined by Keith Smith. Make sure you guys do subscribe to the NBA Front Office Show on YouTube, as well as over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Keith, how you doing? How you holding? How are you keeping up with the NBA right now? I'm having a tough time with how fast everything is moving.
Well, we got to make this quick because I want to watch the top of the 53rd inning for the Dodgers and Blue Jays. It feels like they're still going. Let me tell you what happened. So I finished watching games. I was starting to fall asleep, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to bed because the evening games last night weren't super close and tight. So I was like, I'm just going to call it. Fell asleep. I rolled over. I woke up. And I looked at my phone and I was like, there's a lot of notifications. Like, did something major happen? So then I looked, I got up, I picked up my phone. I didn't want to disturb my wife. So I left the room and I opened it up and I actually watched the end of the game after literally going to bed and then waking up because it was almost 3 a.m. East Coast time by the time that all played out. And I watched the end of it and crazy, unbelievable. But on the NBA front, yeah, I'm keeping up. I'm doing okay. It's like we always say, it's like drinking from the fire hose, right? Here's 9 million things. I'm trying to watch as many of these games as I can, especially kind of the new teams, like teams that have new guys and I did a lot of roster changes and those things, just trying to get to know those teams. I just did a very long piece for the basketball bulletin. That is, I checked in on all 30 teams. Things I like and don't like from the start for each team, some general things for the NBA as well that I like and don't like. Try to mix the positive with the critical there, but overall, it's been pretty good, but it's a lot. I'm thankful for the lighter nights because that gives me an opportunity to kind of catch up.
I need the World Series to end.
Yeah.
That's occupying so much of my. I'm keeping an eye on all that sort of stuff. I'm falling behind on my back. I'm like, no, I need to keep up with the basketball. And it feels like every night we've got 12 games, and it's great because we're seeing some absolutely wonderful, some very exciting and fun basketball. But as I said, though, we unfortunately are also seeing a lot of injuries. So let's start there. Anthony Edwards out about 2 weeks for the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's dealing with a hamstring issue. Keith, we talked about it, that in the Western Conference, it could be somebody gets injured for a week or two, and that could make all the difference in the standings because of how close we expect the West to be. Now, we are way too early to be like standings watch or anything like that or necessarily worried, but just keep this in mind because when we get to the end of March, we get to the beginning of April, and people are watching every day and living and dying with each team moving up and down in the standings, that's when we're going to be talking about, hey, remember back in October, about in the first week of the season when so many guys got hurt? Yeah, that's why this team is now, 2 games behind or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the good reminder of we don't overreact to things yet. Unless we're having fun with it, then by all means, go nuts, right? It should be fun.
Can we overreact to Wemby?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's possible. Can you?
I don't even know that you can overreact to him. Like everything he does is like prompts some form of incredible reaction. But the games now count as much as the games in March and April do. And that's the thing. So you're absolutely right when we miss. So they're going to be without him. Last night, they moved Mike Conley back into the starting group. Mike Conley had not been starting. Dante DiVincenzo was starting as a kind of pseudo point guard. The offense really running through Anthony Edwards. They gave the ball to Julius Randle ran a lot more through him. One thing I'm a little worried about with the Wolves, Mike Conley and Rudy Gobert are starting to look kind of old. Like Mike Conley can't make a shot right now, and he's really struggling defensively. And Rob Dillingham's not ready. Bones Highland, I think, is giving him everything he has, but that's a limited amount. So I'm nervous about where the Wolves are going to go without Anthony Edwards, because with him, he masks and covers a lot because he is that good. He is a full-blown super duper star. And without him, that team's very limited. They're very reliant on Julius Randle.
Right. Randall's got to do a lot in order to keep them afloat. And as you said, the point guard issue, they're not the only team in the NBA dealing with point guard situations right now. The Dallas Mavericks have had some struggles there. Of course, the Houston Rockets missing Fred VanVleet. But if Anthony Edwards is out, I think it does exacerbate the point guard situation, particularly if Mike Conley has truly finally hit the age cliff. And what a job Mike Conley has done for so many years in the NBA. But you're right, he does look like he's, maybe he's hitting that point where he's not going to be nearly as productive. For a while there, he was the game manager, the high efficiency older guy that couldn't do exactly what he did before, but he could still be a positive out there. If he's past that level, and if Dillingham, man, they really needed Dillingham to come along. If he's not ready to take over that burden, it could feel like a long 2 weeks in Minnesota. And as always, the caution with a hamstring injury is you're worried about recurrence because of how tricky those injuries can be. So it's frustrating, but it's also a thing where they have to really make sure that Ant is right before they put him back out there on the court.
Yeah, because the last thing you want to do is bring him back. Then he has something worse, and now it's months lost versus just a span of a couple weeks. So hopefully it is just this couple weeks, and then he's back, and the Wolves are back to relatively whole with this. They're another team they're not facing any kind of hard cap situation, but they are very expensive, and they're trying to avoid being a second apron team again. So they're in a spot where they don't want to add to their payroll if they can avoid it. They really don't want to go out and sign anybody right now. They want to keep a little bit of flexibility for later. So I think it's just going to be what you see is what you get. Hope for a little bit more from Dillingham. Hope Highland can give you something. Hope Conley, it's just a slow start. He's easing his way into the season, and then you kind of go. But it is tough right now for Minnesota.
And we should mention Dante DiVincenzo, of course, factors into that whole conversation as well. And he had taken over the starting point guard job. But in terms of shot creation, getting stuff going for others, that's not necessarily DiVincenzo. And I like DiVincenzo a lot as a player. That's not necessarily his forte. And so missing Edwards, you're missing a lot of that shot creation there in that lineup. Keith, my Lakers know a little bit about.
Yeah, I just didn't even. Just the little.
Did you watch the game against the Blazers?
I have now. I now have seen it. Yes.
I apologize.
Yeah, I mean.
That was one of the ugliest basketball games I can recall.
Yeah, it was pretty gross.
It was rough.
I wrote it this way, just a little inside front office show here for the viewers and listeners. If you're watching, it says Lakers all banged up is the title here for this section. You were limited on characters, and I couldn't write out every player who's injured because it's like everybody. It's half the roster. So
literally,
it was that was rough. And I mean, and it's funny because you saw last night. I know I watch enough for your Lakers Nation coverage to know Lakers fans feel a certain way about Gabe Vincent. Boy, they missed him last night. You could just tell, like, just one more guard, like it hurts.
And so I think Gabe has earned a bit more respect going into the season because he's done a few positive things out there. Not that he's going to be a role player and everything, and that's fine, but they have 14 players on their regular roster. 7 of them are currently unavailable due to injury. They have 5 ball handlers on this roster. 4 of them are unavailable due to injury. That made it a very difficult game last night against the Blazers. And we did get the news, Gabe Vincent, who turned his ankle pretty bad the other night against the Kings, he's going to be out 2 to 4 weeks, which obviously it's a wide range there, but 2 to 4 weeks. Luka Doncic out for at least the remainder of this week, and then we'll kind of see from there, dealing with a finger sprain, has a contusion on his leg as well that they just want to be careful on. LeBron James, of course, we're not expecting back till mid-November. There is some hope that Marcus Smart and Jackson Hayes might be back for tomorrow's games, but we'll see. We'll have to wait for the practice report later today. The bottom line is the Lakers are ridiculously, absurdly injured for 4 games into the season, particularly when they didn't play their guys during preseason. They only played their team together once during the entire preseason in order to try to have everybody healthy. And obviously that did not work at all. So it was certainly tough sledding. They had what I had, by my estimation, Keith, they had 5 actual NBA quality players that they had available in last night's game. And that made it tough for them. And it's going to be tough moving forward. Austin Reeves, though, has been fantastic. I don't know if you see, he tied a Lakers record, 3rd all time, tied with Elgin Baylor, the great Elgin Baylor, for points scored through the first 4 games of the season.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, in part that's because Luka's been out, because Luka was headed to shatter that record. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I do think what is good is JJ Redick has shown an ability to, hey, we're going to be able to do some stuff even without some of our guys. But every team hits the point of no return. It's like, all right, if you're rolling out guys, like to your point, they're just not NBA rotation level players.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of muddle through it. I mean, Chris Mannion, who is a two-way guy and missed, I think, almost all of the preseason, like had to log minutes. Like, you know, there was times when it was like, all right, we're going to run the offense through Dalton Connect and Jake LaRavia, and that's not what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be the guys getting set up. So it's tough right now. And just because I was asked this, I know Lakers fans are very aware, at least most of them. They can't go sign anybody. They don't have enough room under the hard cap at the first apron. So they're going to have to wait a while to go sign someone to bring someone in. Yeah, it's only 1.1 million. That's not enough. You got to wait until it's sometime in January to fill that spot. So it's, you know, kind of what you see is what you get for a little while here. Maybe they could make a two-way move. We've already seen some teams do some finagling with the back end of their rosters a little bit. We're going to talk about a couple of those later in the show. Maybe that's the way they go, but there's no veteran signing, because I saw people say, hey, because we're going to talk about campaign and DeLon Wright, like go get one of those guys. Can't fit them in.
You know, one thing that I did note in last night's game, Christian Koloko, who was on the Lakers last year on a two-way contract, he only played 3 minutes. And that to me struck me at, like, with only 5 actual rotation players available for this game. And in that scenario, with so many guys out hurt, he still only got 3 minutes, including both of the backup bigs are out hurt, Jackson Hayes and Maxi Kleber. So the 2 guys in front of him are both hurt, and he still only saw 3 minutes on the court. Keith, that, you know, we talk about actions versus words and all of that. I don't know that means something is coming or something could be happening there. But if in that scenario he's not getting opportunities, when is he? And if that's the case, maybe you do look to make a move with the two-way spot.
Yeah, and then I got to imagine what JJ Redick's looking at there is like, well, wait, then if I have another big go down, like, then what? What do I do?
Then what do you do?
You know, then who do I
if something
play?
happens to DeAndre Ayton, I mean, they just don't have a center at that point.
So that becomes, you know, that's the spot. But yeah, maybe that is the way they go. I mean, maybe it is Mannion who goes and they just bring in, you know, a vet who's still two-way eligible that they could bring in. The challenge is most vets run out. If two-way eligibility is you can have 3 years of experience. So you can be in your 4th year and be two-way eligible, or you can be in your 5th year if you did not appear in an NBA game in one of the first 4 years. That's the so-called Harry Giles rule that they put in the new CBA. But it is, I mean, you're kind of at that point, you're really working for depth if you're looking for guys who have that little experience in the NBA and hoping that they can just come in and fill roster spots and actually play game minutes. That's difficult.
All right, let's move on to another injury. Brandon Miller suffers a shot. Keith, have you seen how many points per game the Hornets are scoring right now?
Yeah, a lot.
It is, I believe off the top of my head, it is 12 more points per game on average than the highest scoring team from last season averaged, which was the Cleveland Cavaliers. 12. That's insane.
They're second in offensive rating through its 3 games. Here's what's really impressive. I mean, that's all cool. They're 10th in defense somehow.
Yeah.
Through 3 games. 3 games. But
it's early. These numbers are going to go. It's just something that's kind of funny right now and interesting to look at. By no means should we take this and say this is what the Hornets are or the entire NBA is. Don't project this forward. Give it time to normalize first.
Yeah. But they should be 3-0. They should be 3-0 because they should have beat Philly in their first game. So yeah, I mean, it's good for Hornets, good for Hornets fans. Like that's a fun group. There's a lot of exciting guys. Brandon Miller being out is a little bit of the downer to it's been a really fun start. I'm going to tell you, I'm starting to get a little nervous. This is 3 different injuries for Brandon Miller. We just see sometimes guys just pick up injuries all the time. And they never quite get there as players. I'm super high on Brandon Miller. I think he's really, really good. I think there's a ton of talent there. I can't wait to see, what he becomes, but I'm still waiting to see what he becomes because we're in year 3 of waiting because we only get glimpses of it. So hopefully this is, something that heals up and he goes. Basically, he had a dislocated shoulder, just to keep it in very simple terms. So that is, stinks, and he's going to miss a little bit of time. I think they're reevaluating him tomorrow or, probably end of the week. He's going to be out, and then we'll see.
All right. But the Hornets have been a lot of fun. So
yeah,
check out the Hornets.
One rookies. Again. Ryan Kalkbrenner, Knipple, Zion James, all playing well. And James is already the best perimeter defender by miles on the team, which isn't saying a whole lot for their defense there in Charlotte, but he's been really good. I mean, they've done well in a couple draft classes now, and starting to move in the right direction.
And let me just say again, I talk about it a lot, but if you are wanting to watch NBA, I would highly recommend League Pass subscribers. Go check it out the next day after the game. You can go and you can stream the game, but it's just the possessions. It's just the possessions, and you can get through a full NBA game in about 40 minutes, 38 to 42 minutes, right in there. So it is much easier to take in a full game and really feel like you got to see the whole thing. If you just watch the highlights, I feel like you miss so much. Even they do like a 10 minutes condensed game. If you're really in a hurry and you don't have the time to watch the full game, 10 minutes, like, okay, that'll give you at least the gist of it, but you could really get a sense of what happened in a game in just 40 minutes. And that, Kate, that has been so huge for me, and be able to keep up with games and watch stuff. It's how you do it as well. Highly, highly recommend, guys, go check that out. If you don't know about it, it's in the League Pass app, and it's a great way to stay up to date on some of these teams and what they're doing out there on the court.
Yeah, my general plan is I have a schedule that I build out where I pick games going into the night. Just, I want to see every team about equally. And then I'll bail on that game if it becomes a blowout or a bunch of guys are out with injuries. And it's just, if it's not going to be representative, I'm not really going to learn anything. And then if for some reason it's like, hey, you need to go back and check this out because this thing happened, then I'll make a note and I'll go back. I'll watch the condensed version, or I'll go out and it's like, wait a minute, this guy had, 7 assists and he's never had more than 2. Like, what were they? Because I want to go look, because were they all dribble handoff assists, or like he kicked it to somebody who then took 100 dribbles and made a layup? Like, assists in the NBA are generous to say the least.
Sure.
But that's what I want to find out. And you can do that as well in the box scores. You can click on any stat and it'll pull up the video of that play. And it'll give you that. And if you click on it in the box score direct, like if a player had 7 assists, it'll pull up 7 videos and you just watch them all in a row. And it gives you a little bit of sense of, okay, I get what these are. Because I've been fooled by that too, where it's like, oh man, this guy had a ton of assists. And then you find out, it's like, oh, this was like 7 consecutive handoffs. Like,
right. A dribble handoff up top, and then the ball handler, crosses over, gets into the paint, finishes a 360 layup, and the other guy got the assist.
Yeah. It's like, okay, cool.
It
I
happens.
Assist on that play then. So, all right, sure.
All right, let's go here. The Rockets will petition, and I'm assuming they will get a disabled player exception for Fred VanVleet. Now, what is that going to mean for Houston cap-wise? And then how much is that disabled player exception going to be for them?
Yeah, so this is why I wanted to talk about this, because this is out there. Kelly Eco, who's now with Yahoo Sports, was the one where I saw this report from. This would be for $12.5 million, because how the disabled player exception works is it's half of the player's salary, or it maxes out at the equivalent of the non-taxpayer Emily. So 12.5 is lower than the non-taxpayer, so $12.5 million. But much like we talked about with the Lakers, we've talked about this with other teams, the Rockets are about 1.2 million underneath the first apron. Yeah, 1.255. So they are in a spot where they can't fill it right now. Disabled player exception does not allow you to go over your hard cap. When you are hard capped, you can't go over it for any reason. This is why Dallas last year, if we go back, we had the situation where they were down to 8 players that they could suit up for games. They had so many injuries, and they were told by the NBA they couldn't get to 8 players. They would have to forfeit. They weren't going to make any exceptions. They weren't going to do anything because they don't want to open that can of worms of, all right, let's get you another guy just so you can go. And they did not have enough room under their hard cap. So why does the question that was asked then is, why does Houston even do this then? You want the tool. You put tools in your toolbox because you don't know what the job will require of you. You don't want to get all the way to the top of the ladder and be like, man, I need the Phillips head screwdriver. Now I don't have it. And I got to climb all the way back down and go get it. Throw it in your toolbox. You get up there. Maybe you use it. Maybe you don't. But you have it if you need it and if you can use it later. So you go for this. There are restrictions on the disabled player exception. Like I said, you can't go over the hard cap. You also can't. It's pretty restrictive in who you can sign and acquire, and sign a free agent to a 1-year deal worth up to the amount of disabled player exception. So in this case, $12.5 million, assuming again you can fit it in under the hard cap, or you can trade for a player who's on a true ending contract. No options, no non-guaranteed years after. It has to be truly an expiring deal. And you could trade for that player again if they fit in and you get them. The idea is it gives you the chance to semi-replace the guy who's out. Last thing I want to say on this one, because there's been a lot of talk of Fred VanVleet tore his ACL really early on. We're seeing guys return from these injuries quicker than ever. Could he be back for the playoffs? And I've seen some people say, why would they do this? This means now he has to be out for the season. That is not what it means. What it means is the NBA has an independent panel looks at it. They determine, yeah, he's more likely than not to miss the remainder of the regular season, remainder of the season. Let me correct that.
Yeah.
But if he has a miracle recovery and he's back, well, so be it. You got lucky. Fortune smiled upon you, and now you get Fred VanVleet and you have the guy you acquire. But main thing is they go out and do this just so they have it, if they have the ability to use it later.
And in most cases, the guy you acquire isn't going to be the, oh my gosh, can you believe they got that guy type player. It's going to be just a guy that could go plug in into your rotation somewhere and just have another healthy and capable player out there on the floor. It's not like this is going to be some seismic, whoa, the Warriors now they got Durant too. They pulled that, that's not what we're going to see. It's not like the Rockets are now going to have flexibility to go add a star or anything if they get this. And again, even if and when we assume they will get the disabled player exception, they are so close to that first apron. It probably doesn't come down to anything anyway, unless there's some kind of other move, something unexpected happens. And the next thing you know, they have the flexibility to use it. So you want to have it. They don't have the ability right now to use it, but you want to have it anyway, just in case. From there, I do think that when we talk about Fred VanVleet, could he return this year? Fingers crossed, man. I hope he can.
Yeah.
I like that you mentioned it's an independent medical panel, so it's not like the Rockets just get to decide, oh yeah, he's out for the year. The NBA, their medical panel will get to make that determination, but I would have to assume with an ACL injury, that's probably where this is going to go.
Yeah, and for VanVleet, it's not like he's 38 and playing out the final year of his career, and he's like, hey, let's go. I can help for a playoff run. And if this is it for me, this is it. He's a little older, but he's still got a lot of good years left in him. I expect he won't play this year.
All right. Speaking of injuries, the Grizzlies used their hardship exception to sign Charles Bassey. Keith,
we didn't even make it out of October yet, and the Grizzlies are using
the Grizzlies,
hardship.
The Lakers, and the Pacers. Man.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep. So Charles Bassey comes in to the Grizzlies. Hardship exception, different from disabled player exception. Memphis, fortunately for them, is not dealing with any season-ending injuries, at least as of now. But they are dealing with multiple long-term injuries. And how you qualify for a hardship exception is you have at least 4 players have missed 3 consecutive games. So for Memphis, that's Brandon Clark, Ty Jerome, Zach Edey, and Scottie Pippen Jr., and actually Vince Williams is in the same boat as well. So, and those players are expected to be out a minimum of 2 more weeks. So it's not like, hey, you missed 4 games, sign a guy today. It's they also need to continue to be expected to be out. Williams, it sounds like, could be back. The other guys are all expected to be out at least for a couple more weeks, probably longer for all of them. So what they changed, this was a change during all the COVID impacted years, was you can now get a hardship exception and sign a hardship 10-day contract. So in the Grizzlies case, Charles Bassey gets signed 10 days. If you scroll down a little bit further, you'll find him on there. He's going to be all the way at the bottom because it's a little.
There he is.
There it is. Almost 132K. Pretty good work if you can get it for 10.
Yeah, for 10 days.
So
I'll take it.
So yeah, right. I'll take it too. So Charles Bassey joins Memphis. Tomas Isolo said he'll probably play. He's like, once he gets up to speed, we're probably going to play him because right now it's Jock Landale starting at the 5, and then that's it, because then it's Jaren Jackson Jr. and Santi Aldama, who are both much more 4s, having to masquerade as 5s. So Bassey's probably going to get a shot to play a little bit here, but once the 10 days is up, they could petition again for another one, could do Bassey again for another 10 days, and then you have to move forward from there with a different player because the standard 10-day rules still do apply, where you can only have a guy for up to 2 10-day contracts. Just earlier, you can't just sign a 10-day contract to fill an open spot right now. That doesn't start until January. But if you have the hardship, you get it. So we'll see if the Pacers go that direction. But again, for the Lakers, they're not probably going to do it unless it gets really bad because they technically have an open roster spot right now anyway. So the NBA would tell them, figure out a way to fill that first, then we'll go, in a different direction. So it's but the Pacers, their rosters max out. We're going to get to, they made a roster move. We're going to get to that a little bit later in the show.
All right, let's go here. The NBA sent teams a memo about gambling, and it was interesting because, Keith, in that memo was brought up, and this was reported by Shams Charania, it was brought up not just the situation with Terry Rozier, but also that they may look at how injuries are reported, which could include the timing of how those injuries are reported, when those are actually put out there for public consumption. A lot mentioned in there in a very short memo. But let me get, I talked about this already on the basketball bulletin. What was your takeaway on that memo?
Yeah, this cleans up injury reporting and some of the nonsense that goes on with that. I'm all in because there's too much that happens there where teams are, oh, this guy's questionable. And then it's like we find out after, Kawhi Leonard being the perfect example, we find out after he's got a torn ACL.
Should it differentiate though, like regular season to playoffs?
What's that?
Should it be different regular season? Like, should you be allowed to, should it be gamesmanship if it's playoff time, but in the regular season, you need to be upfront about it? Or should it be uniform across?
So. I think you just be upfront and go. I wouldn't want to see things get too, too complicated there with that. So yeah, I think that part of it is good. I think asking everybody, Seth Partnow, those who know Seth's work from the work he does online, he also worked for the Milwaukee Bucks for a number of years. And Seth was very clear that every year there's mandatory training. Anybody who has real jobs has to go through some form of compliance training every year. And it's like, oh God, this again. But here's why you do it, because the NBA puts everybody in the entire organization through this compliance training, which basically says, hey, you're not going to talk about player health with people. You're going to talk about things that could be at all seen as tipping people off for gambling reasons. So that's something that I think they're really going to push even further, maybe really putting in check marks on, did you do it? Right? You did it. Because then if you go and do something shady, you can't come out and be like, well, I didn't know. Sorry, I didn't know how that works. So yeah, there's going to be more to come, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on all this, is like, all right, do what you can to try to clean it up. Because again, we don't want this. This is all bad.
Well, especially when, and I know we've spent most of the show talking about injuries, but in spite of the injuries, the on-court product has really been incredible for the first week of the season. We've seen some absolutely amazing games, and you want the focus to be on that and not on this situation, Terry Rozier, Chauncey Billups, or how many trees Kawhi Leonard didn't plant. You want it to be on what's happening on the floor.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, we're like record set for 40-point games early in the season. And I get some of it's the free throw stuff. I fully understand that. That's not great. but the scoring has been really good and it's up, and a lot of that is up because these guys are so good. So that's a big chunk of it. It's not that teams aren't playing defense. It's not that. It's just I think we're at an all-time talent level in the league.
And have you seen the pace is like way up?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, my goodness, talking about holding down the turbo button, we're seeing roughly, by my numbers, about 3 extra possessions per game per team.
That sounds about right.
Which, I mean, so they're getting a lot more score. So yes, free throws are up and all these things, but we're also seeing more possessions. Now they're up probably more than you would expect them to be, even with the extra possessions. But man, teams are flying up and down the court. I mean, made baskets, Keith, are now dangerous because teams are running on made baskets.
It's true.
Like that used to be a safe area. Okay, if you get the ball in the basket, you can get your defense set up. Nope. You make a basket, and if you make a layup and it carries you half a foot off the court, it's a 5-on-4 going the other way.
Yep.
It's crazy.
I just looked it up. So last season, per Basketball Reference, 98.8 was the average pace across the NBA. 6 teams played at 100, which means basically 100 possessions or more. With Oklahoma City and Utah they actually tied for 5th at 100, so just squeezing in there. So that was last season. Mm-hmm. So this season, what'd you say? You said you feel like it's about 3 possessions per game. Let's see. Let's take a look. Man, you're almost on it. 101.5 is the average pace. 20 teams are over 100 possessions, or over 100 in pace right now. With that means only 10 are under that mark. So we're definitely seeing paces up. I do know pace stats do. I asked Christian Narsu this because he's done really good work on when stats normalize in a season, when it's like, all right, I can kind of trust this. Pace stats tend to normalize pretty quickly. Everybody was talking about playing faster, and I think that was the Pacers and the Thunder and everything they were last year. I think teams are like, we want to be like that too. So let's see. But yeah, I'm with you. It's been, I mean, part of it is that it's really making these games entertaining. Pace being up leads to more points scored does not mean that that defense is worse. Like that's the thing that people are going to have to wrap their head around. You just look at points and you're like, oh man, nobody plays defense anymore. And it's like, that's not the case. The games are being played faster.
It's the 7 seconds or less Suns situation. Yeah. Remember, everybody thought they were this terrible defensive team because they gave up more points, but they had, and by the way, they are turtles compared to the pace right now, and they revolutionized the game with how quickly they got up and down the floor. But people thought, oh, they don't play any defense but there was more points scored because they gave up more points than most other teams did. But they gave up more points than most other teams did because there were more possessions in a Suns game, which made them, by the way, fantasy basketball gold, having a team that gets that many more possessions. But it wasn't necessarily a reflection of their defensive capabilities. It was just the fact that there were more possessions in one of their games, and we're seeing possessions again go way up.
I just looked it up. The 2005-2006 Suns. That was the peak.
Oh, God.
7 or second Suns team.
Yeah.
Steve Nash won the MVP. They went to the Western Conference Finals that year and lost to Dallas. What do you think their pace was?
Oh, let's see. Okay, so what's number 1 right now in pace?
100.
They're at 101.5. I'm going to say like 91 or something.
95.8, which this season, let's just pull our numbers to make sure. I should have just left the page up. This season, that would rank them 29th in pace. Ahead of only the Houston Rockets, who, if you watch the Rockets play, they play at an absolute snail's pace. They are playing at a crawl now, and they would only been barely behind that, very famous Suns team that was, considered to be just flying up and down the floor.
Times are changing.
Yeah.
Times are changing.
Way faster now.
I do think there's potential that they're ultimately, we have to look at a much larger sample size, but as the game gets faster, probably a connection with the increase in injuries that we've seen, the
100%.
amount of ground that's being covered, the speed, the
start and stop.
stops. Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Start and stop. All of that certainly matters. When we talk about, people say, oh, the game is soft today. Look at the amount of ground you have to cover. Look at how fast the game is today compared to 20 years ago.
Yeah. And we're seeing all these teams now, especially teams that are, let's say, talent deficient. They're trying to pick up full court and just muck up the game and make it very messy so that it's turnovers, or like what Boston is doing is, even when they don't turn teams over, they want you starting your offense with already 8 seconds gone off the clock because you took the entire backcourt violation time to get it over. So now you're already starting mid-shot clock when you get going. So it's interesting to see. I will be curious to see, does it maintain? What does this look like? But again, pace stats tend to normalize relatively quickly.
I think some of that is to slow down those taking the ball out of the basket, fast breaks, like when you're pressuring full court to try to make to try to stop teams from being able to do that. But I also think, over the long haul, that's a very taxing way to play defense. And I do wonder what that's 100%. Going to mean for teams as the season goes on too. All right, let's go here.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I think I glitched. My bad. Let's go.
It's okay. There's a glitch in the matrix. Go ahead, make your point.
I was just gonna say, I think that there is also too. This is why you're seeing every team says, "I want multiple ball handlers on the floor."
Yeah,
at once, right? I want to keep multiple guys because you have to break those presses, and that's where if a team presses up on you, and you have multiple guys who can handle it and pass, they break it. They're going to get an easy look on the other end. So it's just that's the chess match, and honestly, that's what makes it so much fun.
All right, now let's jump over to Trey Young, focused on winning. He knows winning cures all. His contract situation very much up in the air. He has a player option next season, did not get an extension done this summer. And right now he just wants to see the Hawks win and believes that will cause everything to take care of itself. He's not wrong. I mean, that's the old adage in the NBA, winning cures all. Whatever problems you've got, you win games, everything gets fixed ultimately. But where do you see this going with Trey Young and the Hawks? This is something we've been monitoring over the summer. Like, I've talked to some Hawks fans and had conversations, and they're kind of like, yeah, I mean, we could pivot this team away from Trey Young. It's not as like locked in of, oh my gosh, I'm so worried about losing Trey, we have to keep him. That was a little bit interesting to me. I thought that response that I was getting from Hawks fans. So I don't know where this is ultimately going to head. What do you think?
Yeah, he's also had a weird start to the season. He hasn't been Trey Young in these first handful of games for the Hawks. I don't want to suggest at all it looks like he's not engaged or doesn't care, because he's certainly not playing that way. He just hasn't been very good to open the year. He's not shooting well. He's been a little bit like weird with some of the plays where it's like he gets off the ball and then he goes off and kind of is like just really away from the play. He is drawing a ton of free throws, which that's where a lot of his points are coming from. But it's just been a little bit of a weird start to the year. Again, it's 4 games. The Hawks have been pretty banged up through those 4 games. They've been missing some guys. So that's the tough thing. But I wrote about Trey Young was one of 12 players I wrote about for Spot Track today. It's kind of groups of 5 groups of players, 12 players total, that this is what we're looking for with these guys with their next contract. Like, here's what's going on with some of these players. So if anybody wants to check that out, like, these are guys who I think are really playing for their next deal. And Trey Young is very much in there because even though he didn't do an extension yet, because he has that player option, he could decline it. They could still do it. And Kristaps Porzingis, kind of in the same boat. And both of them have basically said, let's see how the year goes and we'll figure it out later. So we're going to keep an eye on that one.
So with Trey Young, you see the stats and 19% from 3. These are the guys that I say, what do we believe? What do we believe? Because a lot of people we take this early season small sample and they'll project that out over the season and be like, oh my gosh, and make these concrete, I guess, hot takes of what a player is in this. But this player is trash. This player is the GOAT. This is all of this. What do we do we believe that Trey Young now simply is a 19% 3-point shooter? And if that's true, then yes, you have every right to be very down on him. If you think that's really what he is, to me, that doesn't have the ring of truth to it. To me, the numbers tell you that's not going to be the case over the course of the season, that at some point that will normalize. That said, while there will be some normalization of the numbers, I think that the percentages will go up. The efficiency is going to go up. He's always been very good at getting to the free throw line. Maybe that's something that is true. When we see 9 free throw attempts per game, that's not that far off from what he's done in the past. He's even had more than that one season. The question is the engagement piece to it. Is that something that we see play out over the entire season? Is it a weird week? Is it the injuries? Is it all of that? I'm not that concerned about the percentage and stuff. I think that it's a bummer for the Hawks that the numbers are low, but I think that will normalize at some point. The engagement piece is the part to be more concerned about there.
Yeah, what I'm worried about of these numbers, 16 and a half field goal attempts per game, lowest number since his rookie year, 6.5 3-point attempts per game. He had 1 year that was lower, but those are, or he's had a few years that were lower, but that's well off. That's like 2 under where he usually has been at. Those are the things I worry about because these were games where Porzingis didn't play. Jalen Johnson didn't play one of those games. Zachary Sachet wasn't on the floor for a couple games. Like when you're missing guys, how are we not getting the shots up? Is that just the offense? Where is it? Assists have fallen off a little bit too. A little bit, all right, let's see where it all goes. It's been 4 games. Again, like you said, we're not going to go crazy with this, but, where are we going? Now, if it is, hey, I'm giving for the better good here because other guys get more involved. We do more. We become more. But if, let's say it's not this level of bad, but let's say it's still not great, that's why you have some Hawks fans saying, maybe we can get by without him. Maybe we're all right building around Jalen Johnson and Dyson Daniels and Sachet and a whole bunch more flexibility than Trey on another max deal. 2 other things, though, to watch out for with him. One is we got teams with cap space this summer. Some of those teams don't have a point guard yet. That could be issue number 1. Number 2, if he gets to free agency and opts out and the Hawks are like, man, we want to keep him and it's not just about money, Trey Young is actually eligible for a no-trade clause if he's signing a new contract. It's right now it's LeBron and Dame. I have the only 2 negotiated no-trade clauses in the league because Bradley Beals went away when he took the buyout from the Suns. Could we see this be one where it is, hey, everything else is pretty equal. If you want me to stay here, I need a no-trade clause from you. Or could that be, hey, you don't want to give me the max? That's fine. I'll take a little less, but I need a no-trade clause. That could become a really interesting negotiation because rules on no-trade clauses are 8 years of service. Well, this is year 8, so he'll get there. And you have to have been with the same team for at least 4 of them. That is obviously covered because he's been with the Hawks for all 8 seasons. So that's interesting for Trey Young there, that he is eligible for a no-trade clause.
Well, that adds a whole other wrinkle to where we see this go when we're looking at Trey Young's future with the Atlanta Hawks. That's why I wrote
about it today, Trev, because I thought it was interesting.
It is interesting. It's a good one. It's a good topic by you there. All right, let's go here. John Morant said he never wanted to be the face of the NBA. Is this like, wasn't it Charles Barkley back in the day who said he's not a role model?
I'm not a role model. Yeah. And did the whole commercial around it. Yeah. Those are great.
Is this John Morant's version of that? What do you take this at? John Morant never wanted to be because there was a point when John was like the exciting new young player in the NBA, shocking everybody with the highlights, all of that.
Yep.
And now obviously things have fallen quite a bit from there.
Yeah, I took this as I appreciated him being candid in his answer about it. This was Nick Friedel. I wrote about this when the Grizzlies visited the Warriors this week. He wrote about just asking John Morant, and John Morant was like, "Yeah, people talked about that, but he's like, that was never anything I wanted." He's like, "I just want to play basketball." And then he talked about how the praise from his peers, Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, that means more to him than any of the face of the league kind of stuff and all that. So I appreciate him, being very candid and open about, hey, I never really wanted this to begin with. And he wasn't saying because then I can do stupid stuff. It wasn't like that. It was just I never sought this out. If people wanted to put that on me, that's on them. So I think it's kind of a moot point now. I don't think anybody's going there ever again. So I don't know that it really matters now, but it was at least kind of interesting.
What's the future like for John Morant in Memphis?
Yeah. Let's see. Right. They got to win. Right. That's ultimately what it comes down to. If they don't get back to a place where they start feeling really good about the team as a whole, you got to start thinking about, all right, how long are we going to do this with John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr.? They've already made one change. They moved Desmond Bain. And that got him a boatload of picks and allowed him to reset a little bit of the roster. But if you don't start winning here again pretty quickly, you got to start thinking about that long-term partnership between John and Jaren. And let's face it, Jaren Jackson Jr. just got the big contract with the renegotiation extension, which runs out through 29-30. John Morant's only got 2 more years left after this one.
Did you see the Grizz? I didn't realize this until I was looking into some pick obligations and such last night. Did you see the Grizz may have the Suns pick this year?
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 I'm well aware.
That could wind up being juicy.
Yeah. Snake that one from Orlando. That was a part of the Bain trade. Yeah. That was a good. That's a good one. Absolutely. And it's like it's that, and the Wizards pick is mixed up in there too. Yep. So they're in their own as well. So they're coming away with a really good pick.
Right. And they're going to come away with a good pick. I think the Wizards get the better of the two picks.
Yeah, the Wizards pick is very messy.
It's very convoluted trying to read through it.
They all protections too. I think it's Detroit now via the Knicks. So yeah, the Wizards one is super messy, but it is yeah. I mean, there's some if you want to have a good time, Real GM is really good. We have them on the spot track pages as well if you want to look at them, but Real GM's all in one place, really, really well done. Go through and look through, because then it's like, wait, what? How does this team have this pick? And it's like,
some of them, man, like you got to read through it a few times to figure out who gets what pick when. They've really become complicated with
there's second round picks that involve like 7 or 8 teams.
Yeah.
And I literally had to write it all out in Excel. And like, if this, then this, then that, then this, then this, then that, just to solve through it.
And teams are putting in like, they get the 3 teams involved. This team gets the better of that pick, but the lesser of this pick and this. And
then you have some that are, if it's like in the second round, if it's 31-41, it's this team. If it's 41-51, it's this team. It's 51 and later, it's like, come on, like chopping these things up, 3 different teams and other stuff. Yeah, it gets really confusing.
Meanwhile, Sam Presti is just hugging all of his draft picks, the warmth of those draft picks, and saying you'll never get them.
There are a couple teams coming for him,
my precious.
With total picks. There are a couple coming for him. So we'll see.
There are. All right. Let's go here. Campaign decided to stay stateside for his next NBA opportunity. Had some opportunities overseas. Instead, he's going to wait around, see if he can find another NBA deal. Given we talked about a lot, how many teams need point guards, but so many teams are right up against that hard cap, whether it's first apron, second apron, or what have you, that it's difficult for those teams to go make moves and sign somebody. So, but I get if I'm Cameron Payne and I'm looking around going, damn, a lot of teams need point guards right now. It may just be a matter of time before he gets another opportunity.
Yeah. Your campaign, you take the next couple months, stay in good shape, and then let's see when, because for a lot of these teams, it'll free up in January is when they can go. The Knicks are the only ones that are going to wait until late April. Everybody else, it's like beginning to middle of January when they can start adding guys again. So if I'm campaign, I'm going to be in workouts. I'm going to do a bunch of stuff to just stay in as good a shape as I can, basically be ready to say, hey, you need me. Because he was pretty good for the Knicks, I thought, last year in a kind of third point guard, change of pace guard kind of role off that bench. They would often go with him and Deuce McBride in a super small backcourt. But campaign does some good stuff. Yeah, I think it was Partizan in Serbia who had interest in him. And we did see a couple NBA veteran point guards, Spencer Dinwiddie and Jared Butler, did go overseas, and now they're basically gone for the year because they're not very unlikely to be back unless they get waived or buy themselves out, and that's probably pretty unlikely. So campaign says stay. I wouldn't be surprised if we see campaign potentially, let's say mid-December-ish, surface in the G League just as a way to get game reps in. We've seen some veteran guys do that where they'll sign on with the G League, play a handful of games in the G League before an NBA call-up.
All right. Speaking of a guy landing with an NBA team, DeAndre Jordan. He's back. The Pelicans signed
18th
DeAndre
season
Jordan.
for DeAndre Jordan.
What? How many is it?
18.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
DeAndre, did you see though the Pelicans put out like a highlight package of DeAndre Jordan from like his Clippers days, like the crazy DeAndre? I'm like, you are setting fans. That is not fair. You are setting fans up for disappointment.
So now I know you didn't watch Celtics Pelicans, which I don't blame you. It was like a 30-point blowout. DeAndre Jordan had a monster dunk in that game. Yeah, in the first half. And then proceeded to do like nothing the rest of the game because I think he used it all on that one play. But yeah, he did have a big jam.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go back and check that one out. That was not on my viewing list at this point, but I'm gonna have to go find it.
That's a good example of click the stat button for made field goals, and I'll pull the video up, and you can watch. Yeah, they waived Jaden Springer. Here's the weird part of this: DeAndre Jordan. All right, they're without some big men. And there were some big men that were going to look like they might be out for a while. Yves Missi ended up coming back quicker than I think they thought he might have. But they gave him a fully guaranteed contract. Not exactly sure why. I know he's a great locker room guy and people love him and they're trying to rebuild the culture there in New Orleans of let's get some really good locker room people in here. That's a big chunk of going out and getting Kevon Looney. But I don't know. That one's just a little weird to me that we had to give him a fully guaranteed contract. But it is what it is. Jaden Springer has now signed with the G League and been assigned to the Birmingham Squadron. Yes, if you think I brought that up just so I could say Birmingham Squadron because it's my favorite G League team name, you're absolutely right. But he will play for them in the G League as he awaits his next NBA opportunity.
Yeah, that is a great G League. Bring those back. Bring back the fun G League names.
Let's go. Yeah. It should be a rule. You can't just be the whatever Celtics, whatever Lakers, whatever Clippers. Like that shouldn't be a thing. Like that, you have to come up with something more fun. Like that,
absolutely.
Like, that's it. Adam Silver, put it on the list.
Let's get stuff more along the lines of like, the NHL, they've got the Seattle Kraken, right? Like stuff. Let's get fun. some of that kind of stuff going on. Like I think that'd be fun.
I did have somebody ask me fairly recently, like when Seattle gets a team again, should they? And I interrupted and said they should be the Supersonics and we should never discuss anything.
No question.
Like we never changed that. That was one of the cooler team names we had, like 100%, same color scheme, everything. A little updated for, it being whenever it is they start 2020s. Hopefully, maybe we're going to have 5 years left. Hopefully it's in the 2020s. But yeah, I don't want to no, we're not changing anything there.
Yeah. And then we just pretend that it never happened.
Yep.
Mac McClung.
Yeah, finally.
Mac is back. And Mac finally gets a full NBA contract. Congratulations, Mac McClung, the dunk contest champion, now back on a real NBA contract. He's been right there for so long. And it's cool to see that he finally gets the deal done.
Trevor, Mac McClung, he won the G League MVP a couple years ago. He has been awesome in the G League. He's been a really good scorer, really good playmaker. He's held up fairly well defensively in the G League level. I get to see him play quite a bit in Osceola because it's right down the road from where I am in Orlando. And that's where he spent the last couple of years. There are a lot of guys I've seen play in the NBA where I'm like, Mac McClung is better as a third point guard than those guys. What we know right now is this is going to be a 2-year deal, probably both years non-guaranteed, but the Pacers get him in. The Pacers kind of need him because their injuries are also ridiculous. They're obviously without Halliburton. McConnell is out. Cam Jones is out. Taylor Peter is out. Johnny Furphy is injured. Obi Toppin picked up a hamstring injury the other night. Benedict Mathurin has a foot thing. So they are down all kinds of guys. Mac McClung may be whenever it is that I think they play again tomorrow. So maybe another day before he officially signs. But whenever he officially signs, it may be signed. Here's your jersey. Go give us 15 minutes tonight because they may need it right away. In order for him to get a spot, James Wiseman got waived. The Pacers, a little investment there. They did eat $1 million in dead salary for James Wiseman. So it wasn't nothing there. We'll see. They were really excited about James Wiseman a year ago. Then he tore his Achilles. Him and Tony Bradley, my guess was they just feel a little more comfortable with Tony Bradley. Gave them actual good minutes in the finals run a season ago, so they run with him. I still think James Wiseman, like Boston, you're rolling out this center group that just is whatever it is. Like, it's not great. Why not just take a flyer on James Wiseman, see what it looks like? I would have no issue if a team wanted to give him a shot.
Yeah, agreed. He's somebody to take a flyer on if you've got obviously the cap space to do it. All right, let's go here. The Spurs quietly honored Greg Popovich with a banner, much deserved, obviously, for Pop.
This is one where you wish he would have let them go crazy, but he didn't want it. He didn't want it, didn't want any of that stuff. So what happened was Spurs fans showed up for the home opener. There's a banner hanging right next to all the retired jerseys, and it says Pop 1390, I believe is what it says, because that's how many regular season games he won. And then it had 5 stars at the top of it for their 5 NBA championships that he won. And it was just hanging there, and that was it. And like everybody's like, wait, hey, that's new. Because it was like they didn't want a big show.
Do a big ceremony or anything.
Yep. It didn't want to do that. I mean, how fitting, right? That's always the way he was. It was always about the players on the floor, right? They were the ones who won the games and all that. And if things went bad, he took it all on him. We didn't coach good enough and, all those things. But yeah, I mean, just absolute coaching legend. Glad he's still with us. I hope at some point he's like, all right, it's going to mean a lot to a lot of people. You can kind of shower me with attention one night, in this, whenever it is, he officially calls it quits and retires because he is still working for the team. So it's, something else. But yeah, I wanted to put it on here because, cool honor, very, very well earned.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, everybody. We appreciate all of you for joining the show. Please make sure you do subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll be back probably tomorrow talking about more around the NBA. Give us your thoughts in the comment section. Until next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.